Hello and welcome to True Crime Diary, a light-hearted podcast on a serious subject. Every 2 weeks we look back through true crime stories to discuss an event that took place on this week in history. I'm your host Mark Decana, and with me as always are my friends Jed Lester.
Hello.
And Rue Turner.
Hello.
So the date we're looking at this week is the 5th of March, and in 1879 a box was pulled from the river near Barnes Bridge in West London and was found to contain human remains. This sparked off what was known by the press as the Barnes Mystery and became one of the most notorious crimes in the Victorian period.
I thought it was to do with Richmond, but...
Well, it was to do with Richmond once they found out.
Okay.
So originally it was called the Barnes Mystery because it was a mysterious box full of mysterious parts.
In Barnes.
In Barnes.
Southwest London, everyone.
Yeah, but it was later called the Richmond Murder once they discovered what had happened.
Well, this tweaks my interest.
Thank goodness for that.
Because I grew up in Richmond. Now, admittedly, the key thing about this story, not that I know anything about it yet, because obviously I haven't researched it at all, is that I grew up in Richmond, but because it's in my little corridor of interest of Victorian-y old intrigue and down the road from where I live, I'm quite looking forward to what you've got to say.
Well, Richmond is it's so lacking in crime, or low crime rate, I should say.
What, now?
Now.
Right, okay.
That Richmond's own website has a page devoted to this.
Wow.
Point of intrigue from the history of the...
We had crime once, honest.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's in the past.
So anyway, it was found... I know Barnes very well as well, but so it was discovered in Barnes, which
Barnes
basically...
Bridge very well.
So do I, yeah. Why do you know Barnes Bridge? You're talking about Barnes Railway Bridge?
Yeah.
There's only one Barnes Bridge, isn't there? And it's the railway bridge. Yeah, it's a good bridge.
Yeah.
It's a mother beautiful bridge.
As bridges go.
I know. I would say...
Good bridge, mate.
I'd say Richmond Lock Bridge is... that's more... I like that better.
Yeah.
But they're similar.
I'm fond of Hammersmith.
Are they similar?
Bridge.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Is the bridge cool?
Welcome to Bridge Talk.
Barnes Bridge, everyone, is about 5 miles towards London than Richmond on the River Thames.
Correct.
Yeah. Is it 2 bridges down?
No. I'll tell you how many bridges down it is. What are we talking about? Richmond Bridge? Or were we just talking about Richmond?
How many bridges are there between Richmond and Barnes?
Right, okay. I'll tell you what it is. Richmond Bridge, Richmond Railway Bridge, Twickenham Bridge, Richmond Lock, Kew Bridge, Chiswick Bridge, Barnes Bridge.
Okay.
7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7.
There you go.
How does this box get through a lock?
Well, was there a lock at the time?
I don't think there was a lock at the time.
So it's totally open to tidal forces and...
Exactly, which is why
that means
managed to make its way.
Yeah, because the Thames...
Absolutely. So at that time, the water literally would have left. Obviously, there's no Thames barrier at the time, and if there's no locks, at certain times of the year, all the water would have just gone, basically, wouldn't it?
Yeah. The banks of the Thames are considered a beach, technically.
Yeah, sure.
Teddington.
Yeah, which is where it stops. Yeah. It becomes non-tidal at Teddington. I don't know how they control that. They just don't let the water out or something, don't they?
Weirs.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Are you enjoying this pod, everyone?
Well, 6 minutes in. I think we've covered the bridge work of
Let's carry on talking about bridges. Hey, piece of interest, listeners.
I'll be the judge of that.
In pod episode insert number here.
27.
Thames Torso Murders. You can go back to that one and listen to me talking about how I found a dead body under Richmond Lock Bridge, which is what I just listed in the list of bridges that Rue wanted a list of. There's the third one along. Nothing to do with the Thames Torso Murders. I just found a dead body with my mates.
Okay, so our story then is about...
Key.
So our story then is about Julia Martha Thomas, Now, she is about 54, mid-50s, former school teacher. She's living in Park Road in Richmond, London.
I know that.
And there's some cottages, they're variously called Vine cottages or Mayfield cottages. But she's living there, so it's like a semi-detached home. She's not rich, but she's all right. But she's the sort of what they would call an eccentric, you know.
Okay.
So she would dress and wear jewellery and clothes and things that make her look more affluent.
I might be jumping to conclusions, but is she not married?
She is widowed.
Oh, okay. I was wondering why people would label someone, you know,
yeah,
she's a bit, if they're single or spinstery.
Yeah, that's the usual, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Anyway, so she's widowed.
Well,
by the fact that she's living in Richmond would suggest that she's not on the breadline, I suppose. But
yeah, I mean, it was a small town at the time. It's not quite as small now as it would be. But yeah, it's a 2-story semi-detached house. It's got gardens, so it's not a bad gaff.
Yep. Sure. Yeah.
Now, she took on this maid, name of...
See?
Kate Webster.
She's clearly...
Well, yeah, I think it's probably part of the affect, you know,
Okay.
of looking more well-to-do than you are.
That's what I need to do. Take on a maid.
I've got a cleaner. It's the same
Mark, do
thing.
you want to be my maid? Oh, have you got a maid?
Yeah, well, I've got a cleaner. It's not quite...
I mean, that's halfway there.
What? I don't understand what that means. She's lower middle class, so she's all right. She's got a couple of pennies, but
She's all right.
she's not rich. But
Sure.
But I think having a maid was part of the, like I say, part of the affect.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Sort of say, oh, look at me, I can employ. I'm wealthy enough to employ people.
Clean that.
Yeah.
Then I think people's lives were a bit cheaper back then. Getting someone,
Oh, yeah.
employing someone
In.
probably wasn't quite what it is now.
Sure, yeah.
There's no minimum wage. There's,
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, yeah.
So this Kate Webster, she was a friend of a woman named Crease. This Mrs. Crease, she was working for another woman. She was like a servant to them.
Yep.
Okay. Now, she would also, because she was a friend of Kate Webster, she would look after her son. She had a young son.
Mm-hmm.
But when she got ill, Webster stepped in to be maid to her employer.
Emergency maid.
Yeah. And who was a friend of Julia Martha Thomas.
It's all a bit complicated, this, isn't it?
The
Well,
son's
not
only
really.
about 5 or 6, isn't he?
Yeah, his son. Yeah, it's a little boy. So basically, you got 2 friends who are homeowners, and then you got 2 friends who are working as domestics.
Yes. Okay, 4 people.
4 people.
And a child.
One maid gets ill.
Yes.
The other maid, Kate, steps in to work for her
Fine.
employer.
Okay.
Her employer then tells her friend, Thomas, Mrs. Thomas,
Yes.
who says, I need a maid, says, well, I've got a spare because she's just cover to
Yeah.
want her. This
Okay.
is how Webster comes to be in the employ of Mrs. Thomas.
Fine.
Seems normal.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Well,
Or is it?
you can tell that Thomas hasn't really adapted or hasn't really had servants before because she doesn't do any checks or anything. She just takes her word of it and says,
Okay.
right, okay, you're hired.
I mean, that's probably what would happen anyway, wouldn't
No
it?
CRB checks, no
Nothing like that.
no background, no references.
As long as you've got a feather duster, you're in, aren't you?
Got my own bucket.
Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine.
Well, in less than a month, they hate each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't live there, does she?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. A live-in maid.
live-in maid,
Right.
yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Fine. Yep.
They're at each other's throat. They're shouting and arguing, and Thomas basically says,
Clean that. No, I won't clean that.
well, she's not happy with the standard of her work.
Okay.
And
Classic.
yeah, and Webster is more keen on the hole-in-the-wall pub, which is down the road.
So where's that exactly?
It's on Park Road, so it's just it's
remember where
effectively
we're-
a few doors down. It's at the end of the road.
I'm going to look look at the map, everyone, because I want to know exactly where it is. Does it still exist?
No.
No, we'll come to that.
Park.
It's
Although
on Richmond.
it half
Hill,
exists.
sort of.
In Google Maps, if you take one step in one direction, you can see it, and you take a step in the other direction, and it's a different date on the film, on the camera, and it's there or not there, depending on which way you step, because the photographs were taken at different times.
Right. Okay. Fine. So that is, well, currently, that is a very, very, very rich,
Yeah.
posh area.
Yeah, now very affluent.
And it at the time, the architecture and houses would have been exactly the same back then because it's all very, very large, probably Georgian. Are we saying Georgian? Or are we saying early Victorian?
Yeah, Victorian.
Anyway, they're big, big houses, basically. And it's near the entrance to Richmond Park and near the Richmond Hill view. Carry on. I know where we are now. I'm still looking at the map, everyone.
So Thomas decides that Webster's got to go, so she fires her, and Webster says, "I'm going to hang around for a few days."
Okay, you're fired.
No, I'm not.
She says, "Okay, you can stay until the Sunday. This is the 2nd of March." And the deal was that she would be doing a half day, and she would come back to the house in time for Thomas to be able to go to church, which is an afternoon service. But she's running late because Webster has gone to the pub and hasn't come back when she agreed to.
Yep.
So she goes to church, and then when she finally gets there, she's late. She sits at the back away from her normal place where she normally sits. She's very agitated and upset, and this is more or less the last time anybody ever sees her alive again. So I should probably tell you a little bit about who this Kate Webster person is. So she's born in Ireland. Now, by the time she comes to England at the age of 17, she's already been in prison in Ireland.
Yep.
For larceny. When she comes across to Liverpool in England,
Yep.
she's then arrested again for larceny.
Blimey.
Remind me what larceny is again.
Larceny was a sort of a catch-all term for like thieves and robbers.
Thieving,
and
okay.
Subsequently, it's been broken down into separate charges. So burglary is a charge, robbery is a charge, theft is a charge. At the time, it's all just called larceny.
I'll see you and raise you grand larceny. Is that just bigger stealing a sofa or something? Big things. Stealing a big thing. Okay, fine. A fridge, like a fridge. A grand piano. A Wurlitzer.
Jeez.
That's a Wurlitzer.
Yeah. I thought you meant the jukebox. You're talking
No,
about
a Wurlitzer is
the
a
organ.
Yeah. That's a Wurlitzer.
Wurlitzer also, they made
I did,
jukeboxes. The ones with the colourful lights.
Yeah.
They don't even exist yet.
So when she got to Liverpool, she was arrested for larceny. She served 4 years in prison. And when she got out in 1872, she moved to West London. So she was in Hammersmith, and she's moving around the area, Kingston, etc. Now, while she's in this area, but you get to May of 1875, she's convicted of 36 charges of larceny, and she spends another 18 months, this time in Wandsworth prison.
Not wanting to give her too much leniency. When you get that many counts of larceny, I'm assuming that that's one for each tiny object that you stole.
Well, probably, yeah. I mean, I don't know the detail of that particular one, but it's likely that
if you stole 6 apples, then that's six counts of larceny.
Yeah.
Is it?
But 36 is still a lot.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. It's a big bag of apples.
It's a big old bag of apples.
Yeah.
That's virtually a barrel of apples.
Like a sack.
4 short of a bushel!
And then she got out of prison, and almost immediately she's arrested and does another 12 months in prison.
Wow.
So basically, she's a bit of a wrong-un.
Okay.
She's been...
But somehow, she instigated to become a maid.
Yeah, well, again, low pay.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and...
Easiest way to nick stuff is to get into people's houses.
That's true.
Yeah, and when she...
I don't think we're suggesting that yet, though, are we? That anything's been swiped.
Well, not as far as we know from her employers. I mean, obviously, this woman that her friend Chris was working for, obviously thought she was good enough to recommend to her friend.
That was true. Yeah.
Unless you wanted rid of her.
Well,
Yeah.
So basically, on the 2nd of March in 1879, so when Thomas gets back from church about 9 in the evening, she goes back into her house and confronts Webster.
Yep.
They're shouting and arguing at each other.
You missed a bit.
And then there's a moment when she may or may not have taken up an axe. We don't know.
Yeah.
But she
May not.
So she might have hit her on the head, but definitely Webster pushed Thomas down the stairs, for sure.
Onto an axe.
Well, she was hit on the head, but we don't know for sure if her being struck by Webster or her striking the floor caused
Her to fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she went down the stairs.
Right.
And then, because apparently she didn't want to do any screaming, she throttled her. She strangled her to death.
Okay.
I'm going to strangle you and choke off your air supply until you pass away.
Oh, right, okay.
Webster has now murdered Tom.
Case solved.
in her home.
Right, okay, fine.
Yeah. Now, this is where it gets...
Just over a disagreement, effectively.
Yeah. We know they argued that she wanted her to leave, and basically the whole point was that was supposed to be her last day, but she'd gone to
Oh, yeah, of course.
church
Forgot about that bit.
and come back, and there's another reason to argue.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
shouting
Yeah,
at each other. So now Thomas has been murdered by Kate Webster, and this is where it gets quite grisly.
Okay.
This is why what happens next is why it's become one of the most notorious crimes.
Is this why we're talking about it 150 years later?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right, okay.
There are a few other morsels.
Right, okay, fine.
So, in order to dispose of the body,
Yes.
Webster takes what she has to hand, which is a razor and a kitchen knife,
Right.
and she cuts up Thomas's body into small pieces, and then proceeds to boil the parts in a copper laundry pot.
Boiling, I tell ya!
So basically, for you boil the laundry, you boil the washing.
Oh, yes, yes. What would that do, apart from cook it?
Yeah,
But what would that do, then? It's still there.
yeah, that's
It's just a cooked woman.
yeah.
It'd still have all the bones. The meat, I don't know what you could do with the meat, but
Well, all the fat would render out.
yeah.
So.
Meaning what? There'd be less of her. I don't understand why I've chopped it all. I've chopped her all up. I'm going to cook her so that she's a cooked version of a murdered, chopped up woman.
Well, what came about afterwards, and it's very possible that this is just the press of the time stoking the fire, for want of a better analogy, was that she subsequently tried to sell the rendered fat as cooking fat and lard
The fat, right?
to
Okay.
locals, to the pub. The landlady at the Hole in the Wall pub apparently stated that she tried to sell cooking fat.
Some fat. Yeah.
Although that was probably her just getting on.
And there was some titillating rumours that she tried to give it to children as dripping.
Yeah, local children, yeah.
But there's no real evidence to suggest that happened. Just a bit of scandal more than...
It does make the story much more sort of salacious. And
It does, yeah.
fascinating. And people might have been
Surely you're
making up stuff.
kind of... I mean, if she didn't do any of that, I don't mean the chopping up bit, I just mean trying to dispose of elements of the corpse, then it wouldn't raise, sensationalist tittle-tattle goss. It would, if you just pour it in the garden, no one's ever going to...
yeah.
I mean... No, they're not.
No, they're not, I suppose.
I suppose to, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll feed it to all the local children and sell it to the landlady instead of just chucking it in the street or whatever.
Well, who knows? I mean, the point of the fact is, she's now a murderer, but before then she was a thief. She was stealing trinkets and whatever. So she might have thought, well, I can make more money if I sell this.
Right, okay.
She definitely took the bridge work out of her mouth and sold that.
Including false teeth kind of thing.
Yeah. So she tried to...
Okay.
She's trying to sell all of her possessions, including possibly
bits of her.
Yeah.
Wow. Blimey.
A razor's really not that much use. It's very sharp, but
bloody
not
tiny
good
for starters.
stuff up. Yeah.
It's good for having a shave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, oddly, according to Webster, she cut Thomas's head off with the razor and used a knife.
Well, there's no
I would
way
say that would be harder. Maybe she did that and then said this razor is working.
Yeah,
and then
it's blunt now.
But also, you're going to have to cut through the spine with a...
Yeah.
And that's difficult, surely. Yeah. Unless the boiling... well, as you say, it kind of... The meat falls off the bone.
Boiled, I tell you.
In a satisfying way.
If you're going to cook something like a ham, you'll be cooking that for an hour or two.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Yeah.
It's a big
It's
ham.
just cooked.
Oh yeah, I mean
You're
apparently
going to want to rend it down or make the meat fall apart. You're talking.
That's what I'm saying.
hours.
I'm thinking of pulled pork is hours and hours, isn't it?
Yeah.
well apparently the smell was quite bad and lingering, and the neighbours complained that they could smell it, and she said it was so bad that Webster said it was so bad that she went back to the pub.
Oh, right, okay. To rid her nose smell of it. Right.
So now she's got
A cooked woman.
bits of cooked woman.
Yep.
And she packed them all, or most of it, into a bag and a box. So the box that was discovered on the riverside.
Oh, right, yes, okay. Forgot about that bit.
But there's some bits that she couldn't get in, so she
The leg.
She threw a foot onto a rubbish tip in Twickenham.
Oh, my foot! Oh!
Okay.
Down Church Road.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How would they have known that it's her foot?
Well, because they had a body missing a foot. And a foot
Yeah,
turned up,
but
the
yeah,
foot
there
was-
would have been loads of them.
Hang on, this was a simple
You
jigsaw.
could
It was a
do
two-piece
two
jigsaw.
a penny feetless corpses back then.
Feet everywhere.
So it was nothing. It's nothing to do with scientific analysis. It's that. Well, anyway, what are you talking about? There was a body missing a foot. It was missing everything. It was in bits.
It was in bits, yeah. Well, yeah. One
I've
of
got
the
a
feet-
body here that is in 1,000 pieces.
There were a few bits that weren't recovered.
Oh yeah,
I'll tell you what happens to the head
one of the foot.
later. But the foot was found, and the bits in the box.
A foot was found.
A foot. There was another foot was in the box. So it had a matching
Yes.
pair of bits.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good clue, though. If you've got a right and you go, oh, wait.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Hang on,
yeah.
this one's got
This one's
literally
a mirror
got two
image
left
of this
feet.
one, but I can't be sure it's the same lady.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had her name tattooed on the bottom.
I wonder if it was a kind of skeleton foot because it had been boiled and
Yeah.
cooked. A cooked foot.
Cooked foot. Well, no detail on that.
I think she boiled the head.
Yep.
I think she probably gave up on boiling after a while, realising it wasn't a good
I mean,
idea.
what's the point? If she hadn't have done the boiling, then her task would be exactly the same
Yeah.
of ridding
Well, I mean, it's
chopped
like
up
you say,
woman.
You've rendered the fat. You're only carrying around the bone, the skin. Bits
So
of
it's
muscle.
just easier
It'd be
to.
lighter and smaller. It'd be
All right, fine.
shrink back.
To be fair, I haven't
only
been in this
speculating, it's not my
situation.
area of expertise.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not speaking from experience. You understand?
No. Okay, all right, fine.
What would be if I accidentally killed someone?
Yeah,
Accidentally.
carry on.
What would you do? You know,
Well, that's what I'm saying. The first thing I would do
my
is
first
not.
thing was not to boil.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just get a big pot and boil it all.
Hang on, I can't get all of this in the pot. I've got a box out the back. I'll put it in the box and take it to a bridge.
Yeah.
I'm actually at a loss.
Well, I'd do that.
She got to that.
I'd do the put in a box and take it somewhere.
As
we all know.
Float.
That's true. Even heavy boxes full of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but the key thing that we know is it floated away.
Yeah,
So
and
it
that's
would've
all
been
she cares
someone
about.
else's problem. Yeah.
Someone else's jurisdiction as well. And mind you, Barnes is still. Mind you, I'm thinking
Well,
of what it is now. That's still. Is that still Richmond? No, it isn't. Is it?
Still Middlesex.
Yeah.
Depends which side of the river it was.
Well, I mean, let's look at it from the perspective of
I think
someone
I'm
who
complicated.
just killed their first person. Is probably
Yeah,
in
sure.
a state of panic. Doesn't know what to do, and just thinks, "I want this as far from me as possible."
Yeah.
Okay.
If I chuck it in the river, it'll be out in the sea in no time, and no one would ever see it.
Okay.
And
fine.
if I'm going to chuck it in the river, what I'm not going to do is ask a small child to accompany me and help me carry it.
Guess what? I'm next.
Right. What happened? She just asked someone for help.
Yes. So basically, yeah. So she's
But whoever wouldn't have known what's in it.
no, she didn't open it.
But wouldn't you? Wouldn't it
No, I don't think you
smell a
would.
little bit?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Well, it's cooked,
It's
isn't it?
either going to smell of cooked pork or raw pork.
Yeah. Or not pork at all. Cooked meat.
Long pork.
Long pork. But essentially, what happens is that she goes to meet her friends named the Porters. So it's William Porter is the father, and he's got a 15-year-old son whose name was Robert.
Yes.
and basically they go, let's go and have a drink, innit?
Oh, right, yep.
Because that's what they like, you know. That's
Sure.
what she's likes the gin.
Yeah, fine. At the hole in the wall?
No, because they live a little bit further away. So
Hammersmith, isn't it?
in Hammersmith, yeah. You're over.
She went there because she knew people
Yeah,
to Hammersmith.
yeah. So she's got the box and she's carrying a bag, and she heads up to see the porters. Now they're friends of hers. She knows them from a while back. I mean, this time when she introduces herself when she sees them, she introduces herself as Mrs. Thomas. Which is her employer.
Yes, of course. Who's in the bag?
Who's in the bag on the box.
Yeah.
Now, she says that she's inherited the house from a dear aunt. She's wearing now Mrs. Thomas's
Skin.
Yep.
What you got in the basket?
This is 2 days later. So she hasn't seen them for a few years. She's saying, I'm Mrs. Thomas. She invites them to a pub in Barnes called the Oxford and Cambridge Arms.
I bet that still exists.
Young Robert helps her carry the box along the way.
It's a box.
Also along the way, she's carrying this bag. Now,
That's a grand old carpet bag, isn't it?
yeah.
Full of books.
yeah.
7 books.
She said it was full of books.
Yeah.
But it wasn't full of books.
No, I don't think it was.
Well,
No.
general
I think
consensus
there were a
is it
couple of
was
books,
the
but-
Mrs. Thomas's entrails.
Nice. I'm sure you can get rid of
The
those.
torso in the trunk didn't have any organs in it.
I'm sure you can get rid of entrails
Yeah.
quite easily.
It would have been the.
Do you know what I would have done?
Well, they're the bit that's the wettest and the
I know, yeah. And the most eatablest
really
by a dog.
You would have gobbled them up.
No, by a
butcher's dog.
yeah, or a passing wolf. No, I don't know. Leave it in. It just get eaten by animals round and about.
Gobbled up by a
Do you know what I would have done?
wolf. What would you have done?
She's near Richmond Park,
Yeah.
which was Richmond Park at the time,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yeah. Since
And that-
Henry VIII.
a lot more of it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's basically open country.
Yeah.
I'm sure she could have.
All about here was open country as well, all the way through.
Yeah, I'm sure she could have utilised the many bits and then dotted them about, not just on the road or anything,
Tested in a tree.
but in the
Deer are
undergrowth.
vegetarian, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I know they are, but there would have been
Kicking around.
various animals who just would have. You put it hidden. I'm talking like 100 different places over,
Like a scavenger hunt.
and then
Literally
it would
scavengers.
just all get eaten, basically.
I don't know.
Like an Easter egg hunt. Put a kidney here and a liver there. And
But say, for the sake of argument, a kidney here. I reckon that would last an hour, and something,
Yeah.
or something, not someone, but something would have just gone. Whee, food.
Om nom 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 nom.
yeah, well, you're probably right.
That's what I would have done, listeners.
Well, she's clearly not thinking it through.
I know she's an
no
idiot.
expert.
What's wrong with her?
She's not going to have a crime podcast anytime. I don't know what she's talking about.
You're right, Mark. I mean, it's her first time. She's frightened, panicking, and even a couple of days later, when you've got bits of body around your house or around your dead person's house,
My house.
it's you're going to want rid of it pretty quick before people start to notice that she's not around.
Yeah, exactly. Although, to be fair, and also especially considering she was a maid, there was bloodstains and rendered fat in the house or something.
Right,
She didn't really clean up
Okay.
that well.
Let's face it, she wasn't a good cleaner.
She was a good cleaner.
Hence the contretemps in the first place.
Exactly. This is why Thomas had every reason to be
Yeah.
concerned about her shoddy standard.
Yeah.
So, young Mr. Porter and she,
This is the teenage boy.
teenage boy,
Oh, Mr. Porter.
carried this box along the way to Barnes.
The contents of which they know not what.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
pretty sure that somewhere along the way, she's lobbed the bag into the river.
Yep.
She doesn't have it with her for long.
Okay.
Now, the premise, what she tells young Porter is that he helps her carry it to Richmond Bridge, and where he leaves her, and she says that she's meeting someone who's going to collect the box.
Yep.
And then so he leaves her, and then a short time later, she runs and catches up with him
Without a box.
without the box.
Yes.
Supposedly the box is being collected, but pretty sure at this point she's hoofed it into the.
Fine. Yeah.
Okay, so now the box has gone into the river. And then it's the next day that the box is then found.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Found, it's probably, how far do we think that is? 4 or 5 miles? I mean, that's pretty swift. That would never happen these days. Well, aside from the fact there's a lock, but it just wouldn't happen because the water control is... So it would go downriver, but just not very far.
Yeah.
Anyway.
In and out with the tide.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that would
2
be...
tides a day.
Yeah.
That would be ironic if you watch it. Going away,
It's gone away.
The tide comes, it just comes.
Hang on. It's coming back. Right, okay.
Robert, he said he heard a small splash.
Yep.
And he didn't know whether it was the box going in the water
or her,
or the sound of a barge.
A barge, yeah.
Going
Going into the water.
Falling into the water off the bridge.
Okay.
You know how the water can slap on the side of a barge as it goes along.
But on the basis that he'd just helped her carry a thing, and now that thing didn't exist, you would surmise.
Yeah. Well, that's his testimony. I helped her carry the box, left her with the box, and then she came back without a box.
Yep.
And there was a splash.
Yeah. And then coincidentally, the next day, a box turned up.
So that testimony is basically, obviously I don't know what you're going to say next in regards to how this is going to finish, but that testimony is or isn't the reason why she was found or accused or whatever. Because without that, have we got any... Is there any evidence at all that could tie her to it? I mean, all right, apart from the fact they lived together and they hated each other.
Well, there is a little bit more because...
The box was identified, wasn't it?
That
thing from the house
is a box.
Yes, but I mean, what's most immediate is that Webster continues to live in the house wearing her employer's clothes.
Right, okay. Yeah, all right.
And then on the 9th of March, so a few days later, he reaches agreement with a man named John Church, who owns a pub called the Rising Sun.
Yep.
And she makes an agreement with him to buy all the furniture in the house.
Okay.
So she's selling...
So people might be thinking, well, hang on, who are you to sell...
And that's not a small amount of money either.
No.
It was £68.
£68.
£68?
We should do the conversion.
It's 1,600 quid.
1,600 quid, yeah.
What would that be for? A chaise longue?
Well, it's about 200
grand piano
odd of skilled labour.
No, you fool. What they sold?
Don't know.
Like if a publican's interested in it, it's going to be like tables, chairs, cupboards,
wardrobes,
bed,
skeleton,
clearly a large copper pot.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of fuss and grief over a little furniture and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But obviously that arouses suspicion because...
of course it does.
She's dealing with...
Smells of pork.
She's dealing with tradesmen. And,
okay.
Wearing Thomas's clothes around her neighbours who knew who Thomas was.
Yeah, right, okay.
What?
Oh, yeah.
And also, where's Thomas doing all of this?
Who's there? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So... The landlady of the house where Webster is staying, Thomas's landlady, who lives next door.
Thomas's landlady? Oh, right. I thought she owned it.
No.
Oh, right. So this is ridiculous because now Mrs. Thomas answered to somebody, her own landlady herself.
Yeah.
Right, okay, fine.
So there's a landlady and the landlady's daughter who live in the house next door.
What's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because they turn up with a car, pick up these furniture.
Yes. So is it all technically...
vans, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is all of that technically hers? Or was that Mrs. Thomas's stuff?
Well, that would have been Mrs. Thomas's stuff.
Oh, okay, all right, fine.
But of course, the landlady's daughter comes out saying, "What are you doing?
Any chance?
I haven't seen Thomas. She's taken all her furniture."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, that's Mrs. Thomas over there." But obviously, it's
because that's who they thought it was. Yeah,
she's living as Thomas, as far as the rest is concerned. But the neighbours know she isn't.
Sure.
So she challenges Webster. It's like, and Webster's like,
Mrs. Thomas.
she's not here. Well, where's she coming back? Oh, I don't know. And it's like trying to slam.
And why are you wearing her clothes?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Webster knows she's rumbled, basically.
Yeah, right. Okay.
She's had a down payment on the furniture. She doesn't get the rest of the money, obviously.
Okay.
But
she had 50 quid though.
She's had 50 quid to her.
It's all right.
That's a lot of money.
So she does a runner
Oh, yeah.
Heads back to Ireland, where he gets a kid and flees
Oh, yeah. To Ireland.
to Ireland. Flees
Okay.
to Ireland,
Yep.
back to her hometown, where you could be easily traced back to.
Because that's where you live
That's where you-
and where you're from. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Also, as if to make matters even easier, Mr. Church, who's obviously come to load all this furniture up in a van, finds a letter.
A van?
It is. Yeah, it's a van.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you mean a big cart?
A van.
A van.
No, because no vans didn't exist.
It did.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's just a big, wholesome cart thing.
Yeah. Called a van.
Called a van.
Still
Is
called
it?
a van.
Was it? I don't think it is.
All right.
Anyway,
Big old cart.
fine.
Apollyon trap.
Yeah, all right, fine.
Well, yeah. So he's turned up for this furniture, and he finds a letter with her home address written on it.
Ah, right. Good. Yeah.
I think it was. I don't know where you can find her.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah.
So she's picked up by authorities in Ireland.
Yep.
This could almost be an episode of, like, murderers do the dumbest things. You know?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to pretend. Firstly, I'm going to kill someone. Then I'm going to pretend that I'm them among all the people that she knows very well.
Yeah, sure,
And then
yeah.
I'm going to flee to a place where I'll obviously be the first place that anyone will look.
Leaving a forwarding address.
Leaving a forwarding.
I'm as stupid as a stupid does.
I'm sure I could have done it better. I know I would have done it better.
It's
Oh,
it's
they-
hard to have
we
done
all-
it worse.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
We could all have done better.
Could have not pushed her down the stairs.
Well, quite. You could have actually cleaned that worktop.
She's picked up in Ireland and she's brought back by Scotland Yard to
In a van.
to face
Yep.
trial.
Get out back of the van.
Yep, okay.
Now her young son, of course, he can't tag along for the ride,
Sure.
so he's put in a workhouse.
Oh, God. Couldn't they have just left it there, like, I don't mean alone, but just where he's
5
from?
or 6. It's-
No, I know, but I don't mean just alone somewhere, but just, I suppose, so he's lugged all the way back to England and off you go to the workhouse.
Put in the workhouse, and he'll stay there
Dear,
until he can
poor
go
lad.
to school.
Why would they have taken him to London?
Well, that's what I
Do you know
mean.
If he's at like
Well, that's what I'm
in
saying.
his home in Ireland,
I know, that's what I'm saying.
he's
Why-
not a criminal.
I know.
His mother's from
I don't know.
Ireland. He's from Ireland. Why send
Just
him to
send him
London?
to
I don't know
school
if he
there.
came back to London. He went to a work.
He just went,
Right,
hey,
They
work.
brought her back.
Okay,
The thing is,
right.
Webster's uncle, who the family all lived in the town in Ireland, he refused to have anything to do with the.
Sure, yeah.
He said, I'm
Understandably.
not going to look after the son.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Lug him off to the
Right.
workhouse.
It's not very nice, is it?
Well,
Poor kid.
poor kid. He goes to trial. Now, the first thing that Webster does is say everyone else did it but her.
Everyone
She accuses John
in the
Church
world.
of doing it.
That was her immediate thing, wasn't it? Was
Yeah.
to make a statement saying
Straight away.
Church.
John Church, he was near
guy
the
who
end
bought
of
the
it.
furniture.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I've just got a wardrobe.
I've never even got it.
Then she accused her friends, the Porters, of having done it.
Yes, yeah.
She also accused a man named Strong, who may or may not have been the father of her child, but we don't know. But he was another villain. He was a
The only thing about accusing the Porters is if you were good at accusing, you could have a good go at that, couldn't you? Because he effectively helped her lug a
By getting him
body.
to carry the body.
He's involved.
Yeah.
He didn't know he was involved, but you could surreptitiously make out that it was actually him. And he, oh, what are you talking about?
Yeah, if you look back
got
at the
it.
Christie case when he made, I've forgotten his name now.
Evans.
Yeah. I mean, Evans
Yes.
honestly believed that he was guilty.
Yeah, right.
Because
That's what I mean.
Christie convinced him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So she could have had an out there.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. Carry on with the other accusers.
Well, she was accusing everyone else. But the thing is, there was one witness called Maria Durden. Now, she told the court that Webster had visited her a week before the murder,
Yes.
saying that she was going to be selling jewellery and property and a house that she'd been left.
Okay.
So when she met the Porters, she said she'd been left a house by her dear aunt. But a week before the murder, she'd said the same thing to somebody else.
That's a bit weird.
And that means premeditation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It changes
I never spotted that.
What does it change? The
narrative?
No, what she can be charged on.
Yeah.
Upon.
Yeah.
On. In.
Well, again, we've talked about this before. At the time,
manslaughter or murder.
Well, they didn't. Manslaughter wasn't a thing.
Oh yeah, sorry.
At the
You
time,
either
it was
done it or you never.
If you've done it,
yeah, okay,
you hang.
You just hang anyway. It doesn't matter.
Anyway, it doesn't matter how it came to
Fine,
or how many of them there are.
But the point of fact,
just hang her a bit.
The point of fact is, it doesn't matter who she accuses who did it on the day.
Yep.
She's told someone else before the murder she's going to be selling a property in this and the other.
Yes.
Now, where is she going to get this from? And suddenly she's trying to sell furniture and property.
Yes.
That
Good
means
point.
that she knew it was going to happen, which means that she must be guilty.
Okay.
So rather than it being an awkward mess that she was trying to clean up, this was an act that she intended to take.
Yeah. She
should have planned it even better then.
Better.
This isn't an accident that she was messily trying to cover up.
Yeah, that's true.
This was
It's
just
now
a really terrible plan.
And she still did it badly. Yeah. Let's throw it off the most public place in Richmond, the river, the bridge that goes over the river. Yeah. Anyway.
And make sure I'm seen doing it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Gather witnesses around.
Yeah. Right.
So, she's found guilty.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Sure.
Of the murder, okay? And no one, alone, acting alone.
Yep.
Now, she tries to slow proceedings here because what happens is the judge asks her if she can think of any reason why he shouldn't pronounce the sentence of death.
Okay.
And she says she's pregnant.
Okay.
Now, at the time, you would get a stay of execution.
Would you?
So what they would do in that instance is they would form a jury of matrons. This is quite interesting. So basically they convene another jury of women to determine if she's pregnant or not.
Could you determine that?
I'm not sure how, but
then
what happened was they're looking to see if she's what's called quick with child.
Okay.
If she has the quickening, which I think is a Highlander term.
Yeah.
And, but basically,
Who wants to live forever?
Yeah, exactly.
Highlander 2, The Quickening. Yeah. Was it to do with pregnancy, that film?
Yeah, I think so. That's what my take on it.
Sean Connery was pregnant.
He was a midwife.
There can be only one. Pregnancy. So they had to see if she was telling the truth.
They're going to see if she's pregnant, in which case then there'll be a stay of execution. It won't mean she won't be executed, it just means
And I guess if she believes that she's pregnant, then there must be some physical evidence that
Yeah.
she's pregnant.
Or she could be lying.
Demonstrate that evidence to the matrons.
She's probably lying.
Well, they convene this jury, and they come back and say, no, she's not pregnant. She said she's pregnant. They all get together and go, give her a prod.
Sure, right.
Yeah, no,
Scratch
she's
their
not.
chins. Okay, all right, fine. So they thought she was making it up.
Yeah. Said,
Okay.
"No, you can't hang me, I'm pregnant." Is she pregnant? No. Right, well, you're going to hang.
Fine, yeah, okay.
So she goes to the gallows.
Yes.
And the night before, she confesses everything. She said, yeah, actually, I did it. Whoopsie.
Oh, right. Well, they kind of knew that, though.
Well, they'd already determined that she was going to hang for it.
The only thing they didn't... And by then, the only thing they didn't know was whether she was pregnant or not. Before, everything else had effectively been solved, kind of, had it? I mean,
Kind of,
yeah.
I mean, they guessed correctly, basically, didn't they?
Yeah.
So the night before, she said, actually...
She made a statement confessing everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So she goes to the gallows and she is hanged by one William Marwood, one of the proponents of the long drop.
I've heard of him.
You have heard of him. I was wondering if your adult mind...
The Marwoods.
The Marwoods family, yes. Now...
Have you heard of him?
We've talked about William Marwood before on a previous episode.
Well, isn't it Pierpoints and Marwoods, and that's about it, basically, who did the hanging?
I'm just thinking with Nell and I.
Why?
Well, the eye is Marwood, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, Marwood, yeah. I think you might have mentioned that in the previous episode.
Probably.
So William Marwood,
Yeah.
in this same year, a few months earlier, had hanged Charles Peace.
Oh.
was
Him?
hangman, yeah.
He met him on the train.
He met him on the train.
Oh, right. Yes, I remember him.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. Am I mixing up You're going to meet a swift death or something? There was a... Who said that to who? Whom? Technically correct.
Peace said to Marwood something along the lines of, if we ever meet, I hope you'll let me off or something like that. You'll let me...
Oh, yes, and they
And then
not
it
too
turned
long
out
time later.
he was then the man to do this.
Yes.
They met again. He went, I'm not letting you off. Down you go.
I'm sure there'd be loads of hangings, and yet it always seems to be...
Well, yeah, not as many as you'd...
No?
This is not like the 17th century, which moved on a little bit. There would be enough, but there wouldn't be...
My point is, I thought there'd be loads of hangmen.
No, there weren't. There was usually only 2 or 3 at a time.
I mean, I know there were the... whatever, good ones, or royal kite mark ones. But I just thought there'd be like a local one, a regional one, and a national one or something. No. But it's a bloke.
You would have 1, possibly 2, and then they would have an assistant or a couple of assistants.
Right, and that's it.
And that would be it.
So she...
travel to where...
She was hung by...
She was hanged
Charles Peace's hangman. It's, by the way, listeners, that's... what was that episode called? Charles Peace.
Charles Peace.
Man of a... No. Plastic...
Rubbery Faces.
Rubbery Face episode.
I think it's called the Rubbery Face episode. I think it's called The Man with 1,000 Faces.
You think it was called?
Well, okay.
Anyway, just look at it. Just look at the eps, listeners. It's a... Charles Peace is his name.
Mr. Peace. It's called The Killer with 1,000 Faces.
None of us remembered what it was called.
There you go.
It's quite a good episode, that one. I quite like it,
yeah.
actually. Again, it's another, like, how did he get away with it for so long?
Yeah. So she bedid. They hoisted the black flag over the walls of Wandsworth Prison, and a big cheer went up from the crowd outside.
Really?
She was the only woman ever to be hanged at Wandsworth Prison.
Really?
Yeah. The only one.
Were there no bad women in London?
They weren't. No, it's very rare.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fine.
I think Wandsworth in its history hanged 135 or thereabouts men and 1 woman.
Right.
So that's the
ratio. And it was her.
135 to 1. And it was her.
Is that partly why we're talking about it? Or does the legend... Is legend better, of greater interest than the one...
Well, there is a...
female hanger-on her?
Because it's a bit grotesque, though, I think, and that's...
Yeah.
That always sticks in the memory.
Sure.
There is a little bit more. The house where they lived stayed vacant for nearly 20 years because no one wanted to live there.
Sure, yeah.
The murder house.
I don't know why people do that. There you go. I'd happily live there.
Because it was
I say happily.
Be nice and cheap.
I would. Yeah. I wouldn't even think twice about it, but anyway, the people were more, I don't know, just wary and gullible and, you don't want to live there.
Madame Tussaud?
Oh yeah, what about her?
Oh no.
They made a waxwork of her before she even went to trial.
Oh my God. It's funny, isn't it? Back then, it's kind of like a historical piece. No, not historical. Current affairs.
It's the news.
the news in wax at 10 o'clock. Yeah. It's more of a current events.
Yeah, she was displayed alongside other True Crime Diary alumni.
Wonder what
such
she
as
was doing.
Crippen and Birkenhair.
Well.
Effigies. But yeah, she hadn't even gone to trial, and they already had her. The Richmond Murderess was on display. Madame Tussaud.
Wow! Before she went, so she hadn't even been found guilty.
No.
Oh God, that's terrible.
That's
isn't
terrible.
it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's essentially a waxwork of an innocent woman.
Again, if I was the, that's what I'm saying. If I was the,
she would have been. Yeah.
If I was the defense, would there have been a defence lawyer? Did they have them?
Yeah, it would have been a defence.
I would have said, well, take that down for starters. This is a perfectly upstanding woman.
Prejudicial.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to influence the jury.
There was a ballad written.
Yeah. Can you sing it now?
I don't know the tune. It's called Murder and Mutilation of an Old Lady in Near Barnes. Set to the tune of Just Before the Battle, Mother. Which is a US Civil War track, apparently.
Oh, a box off a bridge.
So that was released when she was arrested.
Oh God, it's all a bit
at the end
prejudicial.
Of the trial, the same person wrote another ballad to the tune of
another ballad
from Home.
Driving Home for Christmas.
Yeah, full of ballads. I've got a section of words, which is I don't know. The terrible crime at Richmond at last on Catherine Webster now has been cast. Tried and found guilty, she is sentenced to die. From the strong hand of justice she cannot fly. She's tried all excuses, but of no avail. About this and murder she's told many tales. She's tried to throw blame on others as well, but with all her cunning at last she has fallen.
Right.
Now, flash forward.
More?
131 years.
Yes.
She's
to
done
what?
it again.
To now?
To the now.
Yeah, fine.
2010.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So the hole in the wall pub that was once upon a time,
Yes.
and some of the surrounding property is demolished
Is it?
in order for Sir David Attenborough to expand his estate. He lives
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
He's expanding his estate. He's bought the property, and it's knocked down in order to increase his
Because
boundary.
it was going to be bought by developers, and
Yes.
they I think they just left it slightly too long for some technical reason or other, and he just kind of got wind of it and thought, we don't want developers buying this up and turning it into 30
Whatevers.
£1 million flats.
Yeah.
So he just bought it out from underneath them.
Yeah.
Which
And
the
has
neighbours
done
were
what with it?
overjoyed about.
No, he hasn't done anything with it. He's
No,
just...
no. He
has.
It's going to make it into like wetlands and nature
okay.
nature place.
He's
Yeah.
converted all the buildings into... Because actually, I've looked at the planning permission. So there's a really lovely kitchen in the front part of it. And I get the feeling he's using it for kind of accommodation and utilities for the people that service him and the production system that he's part of.
Okay.
So
Does he release lions and wildebeest and then
there doesn't
films
seem
them?
to be a direct connection between it and his house, which is next to it.
Yeah.
There's a
So
lot
I
of his
think
land
it's-
is turned over to
Yeah.
like nature reserve. But
Right, okay.
But for
There's a big garden.
insects
bit at
and
the
Are we talking about the house that it occurred in, or are we talking
Not
about
the
the hole in the...
the pub,
wall.
which is a few doors away,
Yeah, okay.
which would have been the pub and the stable block and everything else.
Yeah.
We've renovated the buildings back to the
Yeah.
really quite pleasant.
Right.
Now, in the course of
Good old Dave.
Yeah.
good old Dave, in the
Saved
course of
it.
this renovation, they find
Uh-oh. Really?
they find
I don't know what you're going to say.
a skull,
Oh, God, really?
the skull of a woman in her mid-50s
Oh, yeah. And they know that,
from
do they?
around 1880-ish.
Oh, God.
With damage to it, which is consistent with a fall or blunt wound.
Oh, no. Really?
There's no DNA testing, but it is probable, very, very likely,
Where did they find that, by the way? Just
in what would
around...
have been the stable area.
So it
we-
wasn't... So they could have found it several... Well, no one was in
well, it
there, I
would have been
suppose, but...
hidden there, yeah.
I also read in
What, under some hay?
That's amazing.
the nature of the bone is consistent with bone that has been boiled.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
They'd know that, wouldn't they? Yeah.
It's pretty much
The old
There's calcium
boiled bone.
changes and-
it's pretty much 99.9%
Yeah.
certain that this is the
Wow.
missing head of Julia Martha Thomas.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Discovered over a century later. Still a couple of bits missing, but found them.
One of the feet.
In Sir David Attenborough's house.
It's a
Yeah,
David
yeah.
Attenborough.
Hang on, mate. You've got some explaining to do.
Hang on a minute.
Here we find a head in my garden. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's great, isn't it? Well, it's not great, but it's very interesting. So all we're doing is potentially double confirming that the correct meted justice was handed out.
Finishes tying the string on
Yeah,
the parcel.
it would have been.
On the wooden box. So there's a coroner's inquest on the head,
Yeah.
because it was an open verdict the first time.
Yep.
They-
Yes.
On the rest of the bit.
There had to have been an open verdict.
Surely
yeah.
the verdict was murder.
Or it could have been suicide.
Death
Killed
by
herself
partial
and then cut herself
boiling.
up
Yeah.
from-
Death by the fact that she didn't have a head.
Yeah, death from headlessness.
Yeah.
So the coroner of this time in the 2000
Right. Yeah.
gave the cause of death as asphyxiation and head injury. Well, we knew that already anyway. But what I like particularly is that the police made a statement saying that this is a good example
Oh yeah.
of how good old-fashioned detective work, historical records, and technological advances came together to solve the Barnes mystery. Detective work? What were you doing for 130 years?
Yeah.
Old-fashioned.
Yeah,
That kind of
old-fashioned
gives too much credit to 1879 policemen.
Yeah.
Basically, David Attenborough found a head and said, "Who's this?" And someone said, "Oh, it's old."
It's probably that story about that woman we've been talking about for a century.
Who lived here, yeah.
That's all for this time. If you want to know more about what we've talked about on this episode, then just Google it or something. You can listen to all of our previous episodes on our website. That's www.truecrimediary.co.uk. Please remember to leave a review on your podcast provider if you can, or you can email us. That's stuff@truecrimediary.co.uk. My thanks to Jed and Roo and to all of you for listening, and we'll see you again on next date in our True Crime Diary.
Just before the battle, Mother